Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to this IC Markets webinar. Unexpected performers in the stock market, will they continue? So welcome along, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Chloe. I'm with Trade with Precision, and I'll be with you for the next hour or so, going through the webinar, having a look at the markets, and perhaps building a little bit of a watch list moving forward. So before we get started with the webinar properly, I'd just like to give you the opportunity to read through this next slide, which is the risk disclaimer slide. So just have a quick look through this, make sure you agree with everything therein, and then we can get started with the webinar. Also like to take the opportunity to get you to write in the questions box if you can see my screen okay and hear my voice okay. Always good to get that feedback before we get started. And while you are there looking at the questions box, please do use it as a tool to keep in touch with me during the webinar. If there are any questions that you have or anything that's not clear or anything like that, then you know, it's best to keep the sessions interactive as possible. So please do make use of that questions box. I'll do my best to get to as many of the questions as I possibly can in the time that I have. Just a little disclaimer for myself as well. I've got a little one-year-old whose bedtime it is. So if you do hear any of that sound travelling through into the webinar, then I can only apologise. Hopefully he'll keep the noise levels down, but one can't always predict these things with a one-year-old. So that should be enough time to have read through that slide. And with that said, let's get started with the webinar. And we'll just have a quick look at the agenda. We're going to do a broad market analysis for the S&P 500 and the other major indices, predominantly focusing on the US indices. But of course, if you do have any questions or any markets that you particularly want me to have a look at, then pop those in the questions box. And then we're going to have a look at some of the major stocks. So we'll have a quick look at the FANGs, and then we'll have a look at which stocks have outperformed their peers in the current climate, and building a potential watch list to keep an eye on through multiple timeframes. Now, this won't be an exhaustive watch list. There are thousands of stocks that we could look at. So of course, I can't go through absolutely everything with you in the just under an hour we have. But I will let you know what things have kind of piqued my interest and what I'm keeping an eye on at the moment. So without further ado, let's go to the markets. I'm going to have a look now at I'll take you to the MT5 platform. So I'll just get that up for you. So hopefully you should now be able to see my MT5 platform. Now, before we get started in depth going through stocks, I'd just like to make sure we're all on a level playing field here and actually explain a little bit about what I'm actually looking for when I do my market analysis. So as I mentioned, I'm with Trade with Precision, and I am a full-time trader based in London. I've been trading for 12 years now, just over 12 years. And I am predominantly a technical trader, predominantly a trend or momentum-based trader. So in terms of technicals, what I'm mainly looking for is I'm mainly looking for trending markets. So I'm not necessarily looking to pick the top of the market or pick the bottom of the market. I know some people interested in stock investing or even stock trading like to know when the absolute bottom is or the absolute top is. That's not the game I'm in. The game that I'm in is technical trading and trend or momentum-based trading, finding a stock that is performing well and getting in on the back of that. So I'm not looking at picking the absolute bottom. I'm looking at finding a stock that is trending and getting into to make some profit on that. That is, in terms of trading, that's where I'm at. In terms of investing, obviously it is nice to pick stocks that are undervalued, so that moving forward, if you were to buy and hold a stock, you would stand to make some profit out of that. So a couple of kind of differentiations to make there between trading and investing, and we'll have a look at both options, but predominantly, as I said, I am a trader, so I am looking to buy and sell and not necessarily hold positions for extremely long periods of time. Certainly in terms of my my day-to-day monthly income. Obviously, investing is a separate portfolio that I do have, but in terms of my monthly income, it is predominantly from trading. So the other thing is, I mentioned that I was a predominantly technical and predominantly trend-based trader. So what is it exactly that I am looking for? Well, you'll notice that the chart I have up here, and I'm not going to use this hour to actually teach you a trading strategy, because this is predominantly a market analysis webinar rather than a teaching a strategy kind of webinar. But I do want to point out some of the major things that I'm looking out for. So in my trading, I am more often than not looking for a strongly trending market with smooth, predictable price action. And for those purposes, I like to keep my charts pretty clean. So you'll notice here I'm just looking at a candlestick chart, and I just have a few moving averages. When I'm doing my analysis on a monthly and weekly time frame, I don't even need to use those moving averages. In fact, I purely use, on the monthly and weekly time frames, I purely use price action and horizontal levels for my market analysis. When it comes down to actually finding trade entries, I do find those moving averages quite useful, and I will show you a couple of examples there. So I like to keep things pretty clean, and predominantly what I'm looking for, in fact, let's just take it to the weekly time frame there, just to show you what I'm looking for in terms of trending markets. So I'm looking for a series of higher highs and higher lows. And this applies to whether I'm trading an index, whether I'm trading an individual stock, even whether I'm trading a commodity or a currency pair. Whatever I'm trading, I'm pretty much looking for the same thing. I'm looking for clean, predictable trends, higher highs, higher lows. So that is the kind of movement I'm looking for: higher highs, higher lows, clean, clear, and predictable. Now, obviously, that can't go on forever. It will come to an end at some point. But what I know with my own trading is that if I keep an eye out for these strong, smoothly trending markets and areas in a chart that are trending, for example, here, this is not strongly trending price action over here. But once I start seeing higher highs and higher lows cleanly, which I would say starts from around this point here, that's when I'm looking for, and this is the weekly time frame that I'm looking at right now. All of these weeks from this point moving on, I've got clean, strongly trending price action. And all of this time, I'm able to say, okay, the momentum of this market is up. The major flow of this market is up. So I want to be buying this market. And all of this time, this is from November 2016 all the way up to October 2017. So there's a whole year there of trending price action. For that whole year, not only can I, and I'm sorry I failed to mention, but this is the US 500 stock index market. So for that whole year, not only can I look for long opportunities in this particular market on this exact chart, but I can also look for long opportunities on the daily chart of this particular, well, we've got to go back quite a way now, back to, that was 2017, it was over here. So on the daily chart, I can also be looking for these long opportunities. And in the stock market itself, I can be fairly faithfully looking for long opportunities in those stocks that are performing well, because they're going with the overall market flow, which is bullish. So in terms of what I'm looking for to take a trade, and yes, feel free to fire away questions. Good question coming here. Do I decide to buy on the daily or weekly time frame? Really good question. Now, it will depend what I'm trading. So I actually trade, I trade currency pairs, I trade commodities, I trade indices, I trade stocks. I trade a whole range of things. Now, stocks, I don't actually trade down below a daily time frame for my stock trading. Indices, however, I will trade down to a lower time frame. In fact, I will trade down to a 15-minute time frame on indices. So in answer to the question, where do I make my decisions, I can tell you my personal answer. It won't necessarily be the answer that you need because it will depend on the time frames that you are interested in trading. Are you an intraday trader? Are you a swing trader? That will have an impact on what time frames you're looking at. But in answer to the question, do I make my decision? Well, what happens is that I do a pretty thorough market analysis at the beginning of every single month. And so you could say that I make my decision based on the monthly time frame. So for example, currently on this monthly time frame of the S&P, the US 500, looking at this month here, which was July, that's last month, that was a very bullish month. And so from once that month has ended, I can see that that was a very bullish month. It recovered almost all of the losses from the month before, and I can make a decision then that the most likely thing to happen is that I will be bullish for the following month of August. I need to see price continue the gains of July, which it actually has done. If you note here, price has continued long. It's taken out the highs of July, and that will confirm my bullish bias. But basically, seeing this price action on the monthly time frame has decided for me that probably for the rest of the month, I will be looking for long opportunities in the US 500. That's based on the monthly time frame. However, I do still need to see agreement on the weekly time frame. So I need to see price action agree on the weekly time frame, which actually I do see because this is the previous high level over here, and price has taken out that level just last week. So price has continued through the highs. Not only that, but if I look at this weekly price action, it actually is just about showing me a higher low there as well. A higher low there, and now a higher high up here. So that weekly time frame is suggesting bullish as well. And then down to the daily time frame. This is where I will now be looking for my clean, clear trends to trade. So from here, higher lows, higher highs. Apologies for my terrible drawings there, but you get the picture. And now I'll be looking for a trading opportunity long. Based on that monthly analysis, based on the weekly time frame as well, but predominantly my trading will be on the daily time frame and under. So on the daily time frame here, what I would be looking for is I would be looking for a pullback into an area of equilibrium. Now I'd be looking for a pullback to around about this area here, because that's where my previous high is. It's also a previous level of what was a little bit of support over there. So a pullback down to this level, and I would definitely be looking for a long opportunity. But if price doesn't quite make it down that far, that's okay too, as long as I see individual candlestick price action that suggests to me that price is going to continue upwards from here. So for example, on this daily candle here, today's candle actually looks quite bullish because it's tested these lows and price, the buyers have pushed price all the way back up. So if this candle closes as it currently is today, that will be a bullish candle, and that will not necessarily be an entry for me on the daily time frame because that doesn't fit with the strategy I'm trading, but I certainly would go down to a lower time frame to check to see whether I have a strategy entry on a lower time frame. So indices, I'll trade on the 4 hourly, I'll trade on the hourly, I'll trade on everything down to the 15-minute time frame, obviously depending on the time of day that I'm trading as well. So to just summarize that then, on the US 500, I am bullish, I'm looking for long opportunities. Now, we have seen basically for the most part of 2022, actually, the indices have been bearish. So this up here, we've got December 2021, this green candle here, and then basically from January, the bears came into the market, and this year, for pretty much the whole of this year up till now, the market has been quite bearish. This is a monthly time frame, so this is several months of bearish price action. Now, you will probably have heard of talk of a lot of doom and gloom, recession looming, the bears taking control of the market. However, this is not necessarily unusual in terms of the market in itself. We can see here that on this monthly time frame, price has actually pulled back down to and beyond the 50 moving average several times before. Over here in 2020, over here as well, 2018, over here, 2016, it's pulled back to the 50 and it came from the 50 over here down in 2012 as well. So it's not unusual for a pullback to take place and for that pullback to come down to the 50 moving average on a monthly time frame. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the market is going to go down forever from here. And we can see that here on the weekly time frame. Yes, there is a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. But at some point, the buyers are going to come right back into the market and say, you know what, this is a good price for me to get in. I'm still bullish. I still want to make my profits in the upwards direction. And this is now a cheap price. And that's when the buyers can start piling back into the market and actually take over for a little while. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this renewed bull move is going to last forever, and even it might not even turn back into an uptrend. But certainly for the time being, I am bullish on this market, however long it might last. So just because we had those months basically from the beginning of this year of pullback doesn't necessarily mean that the bull trend is over, and this could be the start of a renewed bull trend here. So this level that I've drawn in here is quite key. I'd love to see that level retested, but even if not, as long as price stays above that level, then I'm looking for long opportunities. So that's the US 500. The Nasdaq, pretty similar. So again, July, very, very bullish month in July. We can see that this pullback to the 50 moving average is not unusual. It is a deep pullback, but it's not unusual. It doesn't necessarily spell the end of the bull trend. And on the weekly time frame, we can see that we've had lower highs and lower lows, but just recently over here, we've had a little bit of a turnaround and a higher high up here. So potentially this may be an indication that the bull trend is about to resume in the upwards direction. Certainly on the daily time frame, things are looking pretty bullish. Just seen a pullback to this level here. Price is just sitting around about this previous high, and if it continues up from here, then I will continue to look for long opportunities there. The US 30, very similar monthly time frame, strong bullish candle in July. August so far has well taken out those highs and continued with the bulls. And again, on the weekly time frame, you can see the same pattern: lower highs, lower lows, changing now to a higher low here and higher highs. So again, if price continues upwards from here, I will just be looking for long opportunities on the daily time frame and on the intraday time frame. In terms of intraday trading, it's just going to be dependent on the strategy that you're using. So I use a trend-based strategy called the trend flow strategy. It's one of Trade with Precision's trend trading strategies, and that is strongly reliant on trends. And one of the indicators that I use are moving averages. So, for example, here on the 4-hourly time frame, these are the moving averages that I use. I use the 10, which is the black moving average at the top there, the 20, which is the blue, the 50, which is the red, and the 200 is the green at the bottom. And as long as all of those moving averages are pointing in the direction of the trend that I'm looking to trade, i.e. upwards, that gives me extra confidence that this is an uptrend. And then the other thing it gives me is it gives me an area of equilibrium. Price will not move in a straight line forever. It has to breathe in, it has to move in one direction and then pull back, move and then pull back, move and then pull back. And these pullbacks can tend to come to an area of equilibrium. And that's where the moving averages come in, because you can see that the pullbacks are tending to come to this area of equilibrium in and around the 10 and 20 moving averages. So any pullback I see to this area can give me an indication that price has pulled back to equilibrium, and if the uptrend is going to continue, perhaps that might be a good price to look for signs that the bulls are coming back into the market, i.e. perhaps a bullish candlestick, and that could be an indication then that the bulls are coming back into the market and I want to get in according to my strategy and take some profit of that renewed surge to the upside. So that's what I would be looking for on any of the lower time frames. So all of those US indices, I have the same opinion. Bullish at the moment, likely to remain bullish for the rest of the month. Yes, I am expecting a pullback at some point, which could actually yield an opportunity on the daily time frame. On the US 30, for example, I would be looking for a pullback to around about this level here, this previous high. It coincides nicely with around the 10 moving average at the moment, but once those moving averages come up, then it would be perhaps more in line with the 10 and 20 moving averages, that area that I was mentioning, the buy zone there between the two moving averages. And I will be looking for long opportunities as things stand currently for the rest of the month. So in line with that, let's now go and have a look at some stocks. I don't like to do a stock webinar without looking at the very major ones. So we've got Apple here, performing very well indeed currently. So this is a daily time frame on Apple. I'll just pop onto the monthly time frame for you so you can see that this is by no means, it looks there like it was approaching highs, but this is by no means the absolute highs of this particular stock. You can see that it had a massive fall down here in 2020. It is actually recovering since then. And these highs that price is approaching currently over here, that could potentially be a level of resistance. So we can see here how price has been struggling to get through that level there. It's been resistance in the past, it's been support in the past. Price is just approaching up to that level, towards that level currently. And so in terms of finding a trade, on the daily time frame, I would be looking for a pullback. Now, price could just continue up to this level from here, hit the level, and then pull back. That could be one option. And then I would potentially be looking for an entry here to the upside. However, that would mean that I would be trading directly into that potential resistance. So perhaps not necessarily the best idea. Price could pull back now, in which case that could give perhaps a bigger reward to risk entry before price reaches up to that level. Alternatively, price could get to that level and smash through and then pull back, and perhaps that will be my entry there. So the bottom line is I'm bullish on this stock. All that remains is to find a suitable entry and make sure that entry has a good enough reward to risk to make it worthwhile my putting my capital at risk in this particular trade. But I am looking closely at this level here, because if it breaks, then there's a plenty of room to the upside there. So that's quite an important level. It would be nice, in fact, to get into an early opportunity. So perhaps long after a pullback on this daily time frame, and perhaps maybe scale out at this horizontal level so that I'm in a break-even position. And then if the horizontal level breaks, I'm already trading it, I'm already in. I'm not at risk because I've already taken profits, but I stand to not lose anything if price does turn around at this horizontal level. So that's on my watch list for long Apple. It might seem a little obvious, but I do like the look of that at the moment. Netflix on the daily time frame. I actually do quite like this as well at the moment. If we just again look at the monthly time frame here, now that has had a massive fall over the last few months. So where are we here? This is November, October, November 2021, very, very bullish. And then basically for the whole of this year, it's been very bearish indeed. Now, the key level to look out for here is around about this level here, around 250 or thereabouts. That has been a strong level of support in the past, and so could be a strong level of resistance now that price is pushing up to that level. But it appears that price has fallen back down from that level actually in current trading. So for this one, again, this is a key level that what I would be looking for would be a break of this level, perhaps a retest, and then for price to continue upwards. Now, whether or not this will happen right now remains to be seen, because there is a cost of living crisis going on at the moment, and a lot of people are seeing the streaming services, the Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, etc. A lot of people are seeing those as luxuries that they need to cut back on at the moment, and that is predominantly why we've seen such a drop in stocks such as Netflix. And it's something that we just have to bear in mind. So in my trading, if price does manage to get through this horizontal level here, then I am definitely going to be looking for long opportunities. But I just have to bear in mind that actually price might not get above there. So it's on my watch list. Whether or not price breaks through here remains to be seen. I'm certainly not going to trade it right now, because right now price is just beneath this significant level, and I don't want to get into anything that doesn't have a good enough reward to risk. So yes, this level might break. I'm not going to trade it until it does break. So we've got Amazon. Amazon, I already mentioned Amazon Prime. People are potentially cutting back on that. Amazon does do an awful lot of other things as well, not just streaming, so it's a little bit less reliant on that kind of streaming model. Obviously people buy a lot of stuff from Amazon still. Again, price is coming in. We can see this better on the weekly time frame, but price is approaching this horizontal level here. What was support over here potentially could be resistance just here. So all of these kind of major, the FANG stocks, if you like, are approaching these levels, and it just remains to be seen whether or not price can break through here. If it does break through, then I'm bullish and I'm looking for long opportunities. If it doesn't, then I just have to sit out. I'm not interested in short trading these at the moment, because the trends are not bearish at the moment, plus the indices are bullish at the moment. So I'm much more interested in buying than selling. I'm just aware that at this current time, these horizontal levels may or may not give way. The Google as well. Now this is one that I'm even more bullish on, Google, because on the monthly time frame, July was a reasonably strong month. August has taken out those highs, so it has continued with the buying. Weekly time frame, we can see this congestion over here that has now broken to the upside. Price is heading towards this level here. This is the next potential level of what was support, could become resistance, but there's space up to that point. So in terms of trend, it's not particularly clean at all, but I am bullish on Google at the moment, and I would be willing to trade it up to this next level of potential resistance. Up here it's around 126, something like that. So that one I am bullish on as well. Now, there are a few stocks that I've picked out that have been strong performers. So I'll just go through those now. In fact, I'm going to start with the energy markets. So I've picked out some kind of clean energy stocks. Now, the reason I'm looking at clean energy is because we, I suppose, a two-pronged approach. First of all, we do have the crisis ongoing with the cost of fuel. So the cost of gas, the cost of the crude oils, because of several factors, not least the ongoing crisis in Russia and Ukraine. So there is a lot more interest in clean energy, even more so than there has been in the last few years. You know, I know people who are having solar panels installed on their rooftops because they want to make savings on their energy bills. Their energy bills are skyrocketing. They want to make savings, and now it's looking even more cost effective than it ever did to actually invest in getting solar panels and use that as an energy source in households, not only in companies and in industries, but in households as well. So clean energy, whether that's solar, whether that's fuel cells, whether that's wind turbines, clean energy stocks are of great interest at the moment. There has been there was an Inflation Reduction Act bill announced in late July, and that has provided tax credits for companies to manufacture things like solar panels and wind turbine parts in the US. And so that's another reason why these stocks are outperforming at the moment. So these clean energy companies are being targeted for benefit by the US government. So we've got SunPower here. This is SunPower. This is a solar company, and so we can see that the price of this has risen significantly in the last few weeks. Let's just have a look on the we'll have a look at the weekly time frame here just to see where this is at. So it reached lows down here. There's kind of a triple bottom there. It has breached what was support there. It's breached that, and it's just coming above this level here, which was resistance. So the next significant level of potential resistance would be this previous high over here. There's a long way to go. So at the moment on the daily time frame, I'm particularly interested in looking at this for a long opportunity. Price is currently potentially bouncing at this level where this previous high was. It's also just about around this 10 moving average area, which, as I said, is one of my areas of equilibrium for potential pullback. So I'd be very, very interested in this to the upside. That is on my watch list. First Solar is another one. So this on the weekly time frame. Now this is not as attractive to me because we are at the highs here, or very near the highs, and it has been so far a pretty steep run up, here over the last kind of few days, and price could potentially just be coming to a little bit of resistance up here. So out of the two, I do prefer the previous one that I looked at, but this one is worth keeping on the watch list as well. And again, this is a horizontal level of potential resistance, but price could take out that level. And if it does, then I will be looking to trade long. The other alternative, of course, is price could just give us a bit deeper of a pullback, in which case there could be room to trade back up to that level and still make profits out of this, even if that level doesn't break. So that's on my watch list for longs as well. Sunrun, this is another one. This is, if we just have a quick look at the weekly time frame just for a couple of levels. So it's just, again, overtaken this previous high on the weekly time frame. It's just coming back down to retest this previous high, and again on the daily time frame it coincides nicely with this 10 moving average as well. So if I get a bullish candle today, which it does look that way, then that's going to be of interest to me to trade long. And the next potential level of resistance is up here, which does give me, I mean, I don't really have time to teach a full strategy in this hour, but let's just say I were to place an entry at the top of today's bar with a stop loss at the bottom of today's bar. That gives me a good 2.5 to 1 reward to risk as price approaches this level here. So, you know, if I were to risk 1% of my account, that would be a 2.5% profit on that particular trade, even if I was just aiming for this next horizontal level. Now, in terms of investing, trading, I'm talking about taking a trade around about here, and perhaps by the end of the week, or certainly next week, we could be talking about taking profits. But these clean energy stocks, actually, I would also be interested in holding as investments as well. And you know, there are several techniques that one can use to do that. You know, if one doesn't have any spare cash for investment, then one could perhaps think about making money trading as this moves up here. So as price moves up to here, perhaps make some money from the trade, and then use that money to invest in buying the stock and holding it, because generally I think, in my opinion, clean energy is not a bad place to hold a few stocks. You know, I don't see the energy crisis getting better anytime soon, and I think ways of generating clean energy are going to be required and sought after for a long time to come. So I don't think it's a bad idea to consider investing as well as trading on some of these. TPI composites, I believe, make components for wind turbines. So this is another one that is of interest. And again, looking at the weekly time frame here, there was the resistance on the weekly time frame. So we've broken well and truly through there. The next potential resistance would be around about this level. After that point, it's up here. So in terms of the daily time frame, price is actually in between these two levels. It's pulled back. So there has been already some profit taking. Price has pulled back, and it's currently sitting in between the 10 and 20 moving averages that I mentioned as my equilibrium level. So this is an area that I would be considering potentially getting back into this to the upside. Now, just looking in at the candles, I'd like this candle to close above the 50% mark of the entire candle. So if we look at that candle from the top to the bottom, I'd like it to close, you know, around about where it is or higher. I'd like this to be a bullish candle if I'm going to trade it. But it is on my watch list, and the good thing about this is, again, there's a decent amount of space up to this next horizontal level of resistance. So again, I could get probably a 3-to-1 reward to risk out of the trade running up to that resistance. And it doesn't mean that I would fully take profits at that level. I could still trade past that level, just as long as I have taken some profits. So that is on my watch list as well. Fuel cell energy. Again, just to show you where this has come from. So we've got lows over here, which we can see from 2020, price really surged, end of 2020 up there, crashed all the way back down, and it's come and it's kind of settled at these lows here, around about 320 or thereabouts. And just recently it has taken out the highs on that weekly time frame there. So the next level of potential resistance would be here around, it's around about 690. So in terms of what to look out for on the daily time frame, I'm looking for this pullback. The pullback might not yet be finished. I'm looking for the pullback to come to the horizontal level around 440. I'm looking for my bullish candle, and then the next horizontal level up here around 690. That could be a reasonably significant reward to risk on that particular trade. Now this one is a good price. This is still at a good price. Still the potential for further moves to the upside. So this is another one that I would be considering investing in as well as trading to the upside. Just a little note there, there is a potential level of what was support down here, and quite a significant level of support down here. We had quite a surge from that level. So that's something that I do need to bear in mind. But even so, I would see that as a minor level of potential resistance, and I wouldn't be letting that put me off trading this to the upside. Canadian solar. So this is another one that has been performing quite well of late. So we've got the horizontal level of resistance there. It's around 30, well, it's 38 probably, 37.9. We have got a level of potential resistance just here, but in terms of finding a trade on this one, again, on the daily time frame, I've seen a pullback. I need to see a bullish candle, and then I'd be interested in getting into this to the upside. It's not a particularly clean chart, this one. So, you know, that's down to the individual's discretion as to what kind of charts they are willing to trade. You know, if this was a chart of any old stock that I hadn't picked out due to the sector, I would just move on because it's not clean enough. But just because it is in that clean energy sector, I am pretty much looking across all of them. So this could be an option as well. This one here, STEM. Energy storage. So we don't have an awful lot of data on this one, but it has risen massively. I think it's something like 93% from when that bill was announced in July over here. So that one has risen massively. I am expecting a pullback. This could be it. This could be the pullback, and it has just about made it to that 10 moving average there. So I would be considering this to the upside as well. So that's another one on my watch list. Next era energy. This is another one that's risen massively. Let's just look at that, where we have come from. So this, you know, these lows down here, pretty much as low as it has been. And I'm just looking at price push up above. Now we're not completely clear. This high here, I would say if price breaches that high, then there is potential to go a long way to the upside. But we do have these highs here that have already been broken. So this is a definite horizontal level of resistance here that price struggled against. Those levels have already been broken. So again, this is one that I'm considering trading long. I do need to see a bit more of a pullback on this daily time frame. Because right now it's just kind of in between these two horizontal levels. I'd like to see more of a pullback into this equilibrium area, perhaps even down to the horizontal level, and then I'll be looking to trade that long. So that's on my watch list as well. Phase energy, this is another one that has gone up massively. And this one, we've just got this previous high over here that could be tested. I am going through these a little bit quickly now because I want to make sure I get a chance to cover everything. So again, there hasn't been much of a pullback here. I'd like to see a bit more of a pullback before getting into that one. I'd love to see a proper test of this horizontal level here. So we'll wait to see whether that happens or not. Plus power. This one's, I mean, these ones I've left to the end are not my favourites. They're on my watch list regardless, because I'm just interested to see how they perform and whether there are any opportunities upcoming. But nothing really fantastic there at the moment. And Solar Edge Technologies, again, it's on my list because of the solar technology, but this chart doesn't look particularly clean. It doesn't look particularly clean on the weekly time frame either. So that one, I'm keeping an eye out, but it's not high up on my list. Okay, so then going back to a couple of other outperformers that I have picked out, just in case you're interested. So we've got Albemarle, that is chemical manufacturing. This has outperformed over the last couple of months, or the last month or so. So that is on my watch list as a strong performer. I'd like to see a pullback here before getting in. I think the surge has been pretty big, and I'd like to see a decent pullback into moving averages. Whether that happens or not, in order to give me my opportunity, you know, remains to be seen. But that is on my watch list there. Cardinal Health, healthcare services. There are a couple of healthcare services stocks that I've picked out that are outperforming. This one is one of them. So again, in order to find an opportunity here, I'd love to see a pullback. I'd love the pullback to come. I mean, if it were to come down to this level here, that would be amazing, and I'd really like to try and find an entry opportunity there. But we'll see whether that happens. But as you can see there from the weekly time frame, this has been performing pretty strongly, and it's taken out all of these recent levels of resistance here on that weekly time frame. So that's on my watch list. Signify Health, that's another healthcare services stock on my watch list that has massively outperformed there. It's just pulling back down to this 10 moving average here. So potential for a long opportunity. It's not a particularly bullish candle that's forming right now, so I might just give it another day or two to see if there's an opportunity there. Blackrock. So Blackrock has been outperforming as well, and again, I'd like to see a bit more of a pullback if I'm going to get into that. It's been a pretty strong surge up. I'd like to see a bit more of a pullback to get in at a better price than what it is currently. Autodesk, this is another one. The pullback here is not too bad. It may not pull back this far, or as far as I need it to, but you know, it's one thing building a watch list of stocks that I'm interested in, and it's another thing actually finding entries into those according to strategy. And I've found over the years, when I get greedy and I just say, do you know what, I just want to jump into this because everyone else is, that's when I tend to lose money. Whereas when I stick to my strategy and say, I need to see a pullback to this point here, and that's what will get me into the market, sometimes I miss out on stocks because this might not pull back as far as I need it to. It might carry on upwards, and then I may miss out. Sometimes I might consider going down to a lower time frame to see if there is a suitable entry, but that can bring with it its own set of problems. You know, I don't like trading charts that look very messy with a lot of gaps in, and sometimes on the lower time frames that can be a problem. Automatic data processing, this you can see is another massive outperformer. It's taken out all of the previous highs there. Even on the monthly time frame, there is just nothing in the way of this. So there is a previous high around this level here. That could potentially act as support if price comes back down to that level. If price does come back down to that level, I'll definitely be interested in buying it. Price may not get down there, in which case I will just have to take a more shallow retracement. But that is definitely on my watch list as well. Commercial metals has been outperforming. It's just about taken out this previous high over here, so that's one that looks strong. That's on my watch list for long potential. And Bloom Energy, that's another one that is looking pretty strong. It has been outperforming and it has pulled back. The problem with this one is that this pullback, so this previous high here, the pullback has actually come slightly lower than I would have liked to have seen. So I would have liked to have seen a bounce at this level, and actually prices come back beneath this level. That's a little bit problematic to me, but it's not the end of the world. As long as I get the bullish candle today, then I will still consider trading this to the upside as well. It's certainly on my watch list for long. So that is pretty much what I've got time for. Bear with me a moment while I just look for this one here. So I request to have a look at Snap. So let's have a look at this. There is, I mean, this is a, here we go. This has really crashed since kind of middle of last year, all the way back down to these lows of 2020. So right now it's not looking particularly strong, and so on the monthly time frame there is some buying happening. The buyers are coming into the market at this point. However, on the weekly time frame, there is not yet an uptrend. Now you'll notice that all of those stocks on my watch list have had significant bullish price action and uptrends on at least the daily time frame before I'll consider getting in, usually the weekly time frame as well. This one, yes, it is potentially a very good price. It's down at $10, but there is no uptrend here. So even looking at the daily time frame, there's no uptrend to speak of. Now, there is always a temptation to say, right, this is $10, it's a good price, I want to get in. My trading strategy is that I don't necessarily get in at the absolute lows, because what I want is confirmed buyers. I don't want to get in at the low and then have someone push the price lower. What I want to do is get in as close to the low as I possibly can, but I want an indication that the buyers are properly coming into the market. So I need to see, at the very least, a higher low and a higher high. So I need to see this price action first before I will consider getting in. If I were to see a higher low and a higher high here, then yes, I would be considering this as a very well priced potential investment. Waiting for that higher low and higher high might mean that I get in at 14 or 15 bucks instead of 10. But I would rather get in slightly late than get in and lose money. So I'd rather wait for that confirmation. That's my personal feeling there. All right, that's all the stocks that we've got time to go through for now. But I do just want to take you to the slideshow again, just to give you the contact details for IC Markets. They've got a fantastic customer support team. So if you want to speak to anyone over the phone, the telephone number is there for you. They've got a fantastic team at the end of an email as well. So the email address is there for you. They've got all the usual socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So please do keep in touch. Any questions that you feel you need to fire over to them, they'd be more than happy to help out. And I really hope to speak to some of you at another webinar soon. We do these webinars regularly. If you've got any topics that you particularly want covered, then please drop an email to customer services and they will be more than happy to put that request into us and we can put something together for you. So it has been my pleasure. Thanks for listening, everyone. I wish you a happy evening and good luck with your trading ahead. I hope to speak to you again soon. Cheers, everyone.